this video, we're going to use the repeated division method to identify the lowest common multiple for two numbers. Two numbers in this example are 15 and 9. So the first step will be to perform the repeated division method to identify a prime factorization. So I'm looking at the number 15 initially, and I'm going to divide it by 3. Once I do so, I get the number 5. And in my next step, I'm going to divide it by 5. And I end up with 1. So I can now identify my prime factorization in this number. I think I'll use purple to identify. The prime factorization for 15 is 3 times 5. That was pretty easy. Now with regards to 9, let's do the same. I'm going to choose the first prime factor of 3. Again, this is pretty straightforward. 3 divides into 9 3 times. And I will need to do it one more time. 3 into 3 goes once. Now remember, when using repeated division method, you are finished when you're left with a 1 at the end. Okay, as I am in both examples. Again, I will identify the prime factorization, and in this particular example for 9, it is 3 times 3. Okay, now we've identified the prime factorizations for both numbers. With regards to 15, it is 3 times 5. With regards to 9, it is 3 times 3. My next step will be identify the common numbers on both prime factorizations. On 15's prime factorization, there's a 3. Similarly, there's a 3 with regards to 9, so I can record that once. Now what we have left over is we have a 5 left over and we have a 3 left over. I will add them individually and separately to our prime factorization for that lowest common multiple. Now, when we go ahead and multiply these numbers, we should be able to identify the lowest common multiple for the numbers 15 and 9. I'll go ahead and do that in steps. I'll do 3 times 5 to give me 15. And then I'll lastly multiply that by 3. 3 times 15 gives me 45. So what we should have identified using the repeated division method is that 45 is indeed the lowest common multiple for the numbers 15 and 9. So let's remind ourselves of the steps. First of all, carry out the repeated division to identify the prime factorization for both numbers. Second of all, in green, I highlighted the common numbers that exist on both prime factorizations and record them only once. The next step is to identify the remaining numbers of both prime factorizations and add them, and ultimately multiply the numbers that we have to identify that number. And in this case, the most common multiple of 15 and 9 was identified to be 45. I hope these steps make identifying lowest common multiples easier for you. This method works when looking at 3 numbers or more also.